Hi, I'm Granny, and we're going down the rabbit hole of the Boinne. The English translation of Boinne means the palace or mansion of the Boinne. When I went down the rabbit hole of the Puna Brown, I shared information about Newgrange, which is barely the tip of the iceberg of the Boinne. Most of Ireland's passage tombs form a line from east to west, from County Meath to County Sligo. There are 150 records of monuments in the Boinne. This location was important economically, socially, and as a ritual center. County Sligo is where the Carrowkeel pottery was made, which is about 170 kilometers from the Boinne. Its passage tombs date about 700 years older than the Boinne. Many shards of the Carrowkeel pottery has been found in this area: Newgrange, Noath, and Douth. Newgrange is referred to as a passage tomb, and also they all are, except for the satellite mounds, and some of them are and some of them aren't. Anyway, Newgrange is considered a passage tomb, and it is aligned with the winter solstice. It is also a place where ancestral bones are kept. Only 5 individuals' bones were found at the excavation of Newgrange, but there appears to be patterns of placing bones there and then taking them away and putting new bones there. And because there's no written language, there's no way to know for sure. Newgrange was built about 500 years before Stonehenge and about 1,000 years before the Egyptian pyramids. There is also evidence that beneath Newgrange is a structure that was demolished when Newgrange was built. 200,000 tons of rock was used to build Newgrange, which means it weighs more than the Sydney Opera House. It was so carefully built that the chamber is still watertight after more than 5,000 years. And remember, Ireland is a very, very wet island. There are 97 curbstones at the base of Newgrange, stabilizing the structure, and that is the pattern seen throughout this area. These curbstones weigh more than a ton. There are 46 passage stones that are along the passage supporting it so that people can walk in and out. And this passageway leads to a large cavern or chamber. There are also 547 large stones weighing between 2 and 10 tons. All of these stones are intricately carved and decorated using stone tools. It is estimated it took 400 people 30 years to build Newgrange. These estimates don't include Douth or Noath. The name Newgrange refers to a farm. Douth means darkness or death, and Noath represents marriage. 250 passage tombs have been found so far in Ireland, and 3 of the largest are Newgrange, Douth, and Noath. All 3 are approximately 80 meters across and 10 meters tall, and are bordered on the south by the River Boyne. It appears people who built Stonehenge either heard of or visited Boinne. The most common engraving on the stones in this area includes curvy lines, circles, giving the impression of lunar cycles, and phases, meaning the waning and waxing of the moon. The majority of the artwork appears to be symbolism of astronomical value. Some believe Noath was a site to observe the moon during its long cycles. In the large chamber, a stone basin was located where the remains were placed, and that is true with Newgrange, and it is believed for Douth and Noth. There is evidence that bodies were cremated and the bones placed in the basins, and the basins are so large that the passage tombs were built around the basins. Most passage tombs were built in the cruciform shape, meaning there is the passage, and then at the chamber part of the passage, there are recesses that go around that chamber. And in the right hand is where the right hand recess is where the basin was located, and where the winter solstice sun would reach. The passages generally only went into the mound a third of the way, or a third of the circumference of the mound. A drought in Ireland in 2018 revealed there are many more monuments in the area of Newgrange, Nouth, and Douth, and many are larger than Newgrange. Newgrange is more famous, but Nouth is the most remarkable, with the largest ancient monuments in Ireland, and has 30% of Europe's megalithic artwork, which are the stones at the site that are carved and intricately carved on all the sides of the stone. Nouth's construction began in 3300 BC. There are 127 curbstones. Compare that to Newgrange with 97 curbstones. 3 are missing and 4 are severely damaged. It is similar in size with Newgrange, but it has 2 passageways in the east-west alignment, with each having its own chamber at the end of that passage, but only one. The western passage doesn't have a cruciform, which means it has the chamber, but not the 3 recesses. All the stones in the passages are carved intricately, fancy carved. Nouth is surrounded with 17 smaller mounds, and they're called satellite mounds, and they are each numbered, and they've been excavated. These mounds predate the main mound, and many are oriented towards the main mound. Some also have cruciform passages, and some are aligned to the equinoxes rather than the solstices. Nouth number 12 excavation found cremated remains, bone pins, pieces of flint, but most interesting is the passage is oriented to the southeast and is believed to be positioned towards the rising position of the moon during the moon's what's referred to as midsummer lunar extreme, which only happens every 18.6 years. So amazing to me. The midsummer lunar extreme is also known as the lunar standstill because it does kind of appear to stay in the same place. And it is when the moon reaches its furthest north. And if you remember, I discussed Hipparchus, who lived from 190 BC to 120 BC, who is Greek, astronomer, geographer, mathematician, and who is most famous for his incidental discovery of the precession of equinoxes. Remember, it's important to know where we are in comparison to where other objects are in our universe. Douth's passage tombs also celebrate the winter solstice. Douth is one of the largest megalithic structures in Ireland and originally had 115 curbstones. So Newgrange, 97 curbstones. Nouth had like 127, and Douth 115, kind of in the center. And one of those curbstones, number 51, has carvings called Stone of the Seven Suns. And there's 7 suns carved in that particular curbstone. Dowth was never completed, and according to myths, the construction was halted to punish the king who was building it. Dowth, according to legend, is the burial place of the Celtic goddess Boinne, who created the river Boinne. Dowth has repeatedly been looted, and where Vikings used Dowth stones for their own building projects, and in 1847, and it doesn't go into the reason why, which, anyway, the British Royal Academy dynamited the main chamber, causing it to collapse. That just breaks my heart, thinking of all the archaeological evidence that was destroyed during that time, and you just wonder why. Dowth is located at the highest point of the Boyne Valley, and today you can see little videos that shows a real flimsy fence to keep the grazing sheep out, but some of the grazing sheep gets in there. Excavation and study of Dowth is ongoing with limited information currently available. There are 3 different stone-lined passages leading into the mound. The third entrance on the west side is an early Christian souterrain. Christians' souterrains are underground rooms built between 750 AD and 1200 AD, and it makes me wonder, if you know the history, Christians had to go underground in Rome to prevent being persecuted, and so a lot of their burials were underground in Rome, and it kind of makes me wonder about this. Anyway, there is archaeological evidence that Romans acknowledged that the Bruna Boyne was sacred by leaving offerings there. The largest cache of Roman artifacts was found in Bruna Boyne. So they did recognize it as a sacred site, which I kind of like that idea. There is also evidence of Vikings occupying this area because of the graffiti they left, and it was referred to that they wrote in the script of Ogham or Insular. And so there was a language when the Vikings came that their graffiti included those particular scripts. Anyway, the first recorded Viking raids on Ireland took place in 795 AD, when islands on the north and west coasts were plundered. Later on, Viking fleets appeared on the major river systems, and there are a lot in Ireland, and they fortified their bases, which is why they probably used the area of Newgrange and Knowth and Dowth as a place to get stones. Anyway, so the extensive raiding continued from about 840 AD. In 2018, there was a severe drought in the area, which helped discover many underground rooms / mounds built underneath. And I'm not sure, like in Newgrange, you know how they recognized that before Newgrange there was a structure there. And so we may be getting more information in the future as they discover and investigate those sites. So between 2800 BC and 2500 BC, a circle of timber, or what is called a wood hinge instead of Stonehenge, was constructed near the eastern passage of the entrance at Knowth, which has been recreated recently using 33 prehistoric post holes, putting up wood posts to show what the design was at that time. Martin Brennan, an Irish-American author, is convinced, and archaeologists are starting to agree with him, that regarding Bruna Boyne was a sophisticated lunar study by the ancients. He has presented what appears to be evidence that many of the monuments at the Boinne were used as astronomical observation points. This means what is referred to as a grand alignment, meaning they built structures showing the rising sun, the setting moon, the rising moon, the setting sun would eliminate different chambers in the main mound, which to me sounds magical to be able to observe. There is a message carved in the stone basin found in the east chamber of Noth, which may, because it's like a hieroglyphic, that it appears may express this exact phenomenon. Remember the stone basins where human remains of loved ones were placed. The Boinne is an example of how building a project over time, its use changes. These passage tombs appear to kind of change according to who habited the site at different times. We know that the Romans recognized it as a sacred site, and it doesn't appear that they did any damage. The Vikings used it as a quarry, and we have record that the Christians did worship there. For me, it is a good reminder that historically, people wanted to remember their loved ones who had died. They wanted to remember, and they were remembered in different ways. And this is also a reminder that sometimes locations are valued and honored by others who consider them sacred. And it makes me think of, for instance, Ayers Rock, or it's been changed to Uluru, because it's this big, huge rock in the middle of the outback of Australia that has always been considered sacred until the English showed up, and then there would be tours and people could hike all over it. But recently, it was acknowledged to be held sacred, so nobody can climb it anymore, and it has gone back to the use of being a sacred location. Well, for instance, in Wyoming, there's Devil's Tower, but the Cheyennes considered it sacred and called it Bear's Lodge, and there is a tale associated with that, but if you go there, people are climbing all over it. It's just a reminder to us that different people value different things, and how would we feel if something that we considered sacred, other people trashed? It's just a thought that I thought I would leave with you. And thank you for spending this time with me. Please like and subscribe, and please join me next time as Granny goes down the rabbit hole. Thank you.